Hi everyone, this is Gordon again, and in today's video I'm going to talk about private equity. Well, as you can see, my background is a bit different again because I just come back to Hong Kong recently. Well, it's probably not the best period to come back because of the virus and thing, as you may know, but anyway, I'm here. So, as you guys may have noticed, recently I made a post asking which kind of video you guys want to watch in the community section of my YouTube channel, and you guys voted that you want to watch a video on private equity explanation. Actually, this is a result of your voting, so that's why, I kind of listen to that before I make my video, so that I can actually make videos that are helpful to you guys. So remember to vote. When you apply for a training contract or vacation scheme at different law firms, you may face complicated concepts like private equity, venture capitalists, angel investors in a case study exercise of the assessment center, or you may be asked about these kind of questions by a partners or an associate at an interview, particularly if you are applying to law firms that are pretty strong in private equity, for example, Rao Gashal, Curtin & Ellis, Arshers, for example, to name but a few. But there's so many law firms, they will actually test this kind of concepts because most firms are commercial law firms. They do a lot of M&A private equity stuff. So I just need to put a disclaimer, I'm not an expert in private equity. This video is only designed for those like law students or law graduates who have no idea what private equity is, and you want to know more about private equity in a simple manner. So that's why I make this video. So I hope that after watching this video you have some basic ideas, or at least you know what you're gonna talk about in an interview and to impress the partner. So in short, there are two aspects of private equity. Firstly, you can understand private equity as a source of financing. It's just like an alternative of other sources of financing like IPO or getting a bank loan, etc. Secondly, you can understand private equity as an investment by the private equity investors in a company that is not listed in the stock of exchange. That's why it's called private equity. Some classic examples of private equity investors are venture capitalist companies or other institutional investors like hedge fund, pension funds, etc. So first of all, I'm going to give you a simple description of what private equity is. Basically, private equity investors look for a company that is either underperforming at the moment or has a very good potential to grow. Then they will invest in that company or buy that company and help the business to grow. At the end, they will sell it for more money after several years. Whenever a company wants to use private equity investments, they will issue new shares, and those shares will be bought by the private equity investors. So this has two implications. Firstly, private equity investor is not simply a financier like a bank giving money to the company. Is also a shareholder of the company. That means a private equity investor can actually enter into the management of the company itself. Secondly, private equity investment is basically a marriage with an end. Because when the private equity investors invest, they know that the relationship is not gonna last forever. Because the only way they can actually get a profit is to sell their shares and to get the capital gains out of it. Why does the company want to use private equity investment? There's so many other sources of financing, isn't it? Well, basically, there are four advantages for using private equity. Firstly, the fact that the private equity investors invest in you means that your company is of high quality. So a company can use this to promote its qualities, profiles, or its reputation, etc. Secondly is the networking benefit. Private equity also gives strong support to the company, giving an access to their network. For example, the company can interact with new customers, new suppliers, etc. Thirdly is the knowledge benefit. As a private equity investor becomes the shareholder of the company, potentially involved in the management of it, the investor is able to transfer its knowledge to the company itself. They can transfer some soft knowledge like ability to manage the team, to lead the company, or they can also transfer other industrial knowledge, for example, expertise in chemical or in research and development. Last but not least, it also increases the amount of equity, it increases the credit standing of the company, the rating of the company. After talking about what private equity means and also why those companies need private equity investment, I'll talk about the subcategories of private equity. In general, private equity is a very broad term. There are two subcategories. One is venture capital another is private equity. So there are several differences between venture capital and private equity. The first difference is the type of company they invest in. Private equity firms usually buy more mature or well-established companies, so that it's less risky. But on the other hand, venture capital firms invest mostly in startups or tech companies with high growth potentials. That's why it's called venture capital. That means it's more risky. And the second difference between venture capital and private equity is the amount of equity they obtain through their investment. Private equity firms mostly buy 100% ownership of the companies in which they invest, or at least the majority share. But on the other hand, the venture capital firms mostly invest in 50% or even less of the equity of the company. Most venture capital firms prefer to spread out their risk and invest in different companies. Maybe it's also good for me to mention another similar concept, which is called angel investor. Angel investors are different from venture capital or private equity. They specifically refer to high net worth individuals who invest in a company in the early stage. Many startups or tech companies, they need investment from both angel investors or venture capital. Well, finally, I also want to talk a little bit about the exit strategies for private equity investors. Because as I told you, private equity is a marriage with an N. So how can the investor actually leave the company, sell their share and get the profits? There are two common methods. The first one is called trade sell. Basically, the private equity investor will sell the company to a third-party purchaser who operates in the same industry as the target company. The second method is the IPO. Basically, in most circumstances, going public will generate the highest possible returns for the private equity investors. Although the process is a bit too long and also sometimes unpredictable. So basically, this is the end of my video, and it's a very simple explanation to some of the key concepts of private equity. I hope you guys find this video helpful. In the past, when I attended assessment centers or case study exercise, I got asked questions regarding angel investors or private equity. I think it's better for you guys to know the basics of private equity. Leave a comment below to let me know whether you like this video, and also share it to your friends, and also subscribe to my channel for more content. And after watching this video, remember to vote in the community section of my YouTube channel to let me know what you want to watch next. Also, you may want to follow me on my Instagram and message me there instead of my LinkedIn account. I literally spent like maybe an hour sitting there just replying message every day, but I still couldn't manage to reply to all of them. If you message me on my Instagram, I could respond to it fairly quickly, because when I want to like look at some stories, maybe your messages pop up and then I will reply right away. And thank you so much for you guys' support as well. Well, you know, like in Hong Kong right now, it's a pretty intense moment because of the coronavirus and things. People are pretty unhappy, but I still kind of try to keep up with my weekly contents for you guys, so that I hope, yeah, you guys love this content, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.